Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to this AFK journey video. So in yesterday's Luca pool stream, one of the viewers actually asked me whether or not they should continue spending gems for additional AFK rewards. So personally for me, I think whether or not you want to go for this is relatively subjective, but there's a minimum benchmark for all players out there, and that is to pump out as much AFK levels all the way to level 800. So if you're free to play, if you're a spender, if you're a light spender, mid spender, heavy spender, you want to buy this every single day and try to get your resonating level to level 800. Because 800 is the minimum benchmark to sort of compete on a competitive level for most of the day-to-day contents, which I'll talk about later. Because 800 gives you maximum level to your artifacts. You can upgrade to plus 25. You're also able to get maximum levels on your equipments, which is just additional stats across the board for the different factions right here, as well as the different classes. So these are the core stats, right? From equipments as well as artifact, the core stats. And with regards to the other game modes, which I mentioned just now, right? Dream Realm, the normalization of level is set to 800. So anything beyond 800, the additional levels doesn't give you way more stats. It's sort of normalized in the sense the stat increase is minimal. So I'm resonance level 900 plus, but right now you can see that my units are only 805. So 5 additional levels for 100 over resonance level, very minimal stuff. And then if we were to go into, for example, Guild Supremacy right here, normalization of level at 671. So anything beyond 671 doesn't give you more stats in this game mode as well. So that's one thing to take note of. And then Battle Drill, same thing. Battle Drill basically sets all your units level to a specific level anyway. So additional levels from a resonance synergy doesn't give you more advantage in terms of stats. So Dream Realm, Battle Drill, Guild Supremacy, as well as Supreme Arena, the increase in stats beyond 800 is not that important because the core stats of your whole account has already been set in the form of your artifact as well as your equipment. So even if you're free to play, the first goal is level 800. That's all. After that, if you're free to play or low resources, you can definitely not buy these on a day-to-day basis. Save up the gems, use the gems for pools to give you better unit quality so that you can compete with the other players, right, in terms of your day-to-day content. So in terms of efficiency, it falls off a lot after 800, but there's still some advantages in terms of getting more AFK rewards. That is obviously giving you more resonance synergy, which will definitely give you more stats, right? So this more stats will be reflected in the open world content, in the AFK stage push side, as well as certain upcoming PvE contents. So for example, Chris Shelbrood, the higher level you are, the stats will be transferred. There's no normalization of levels here. So for example, my resonance level will be fully reflected here. So my whole team will get more stats from the leveling up of my characters. So this way, if your server is slightly more competitive, or if you want to have at least a top 100 score or top 50 score within your district right here, then you definitely want to buy out some of the AFK rewards, at least 1 or 2, to sort of maintain pace with your district. So for this part, like I mentioned, it's subjective. It's subjective as to whether or not you got the resources, whether or not you want to compete, whether or not you're contented with your rewards, as well as whether or not you want to keep pace with your server. So if your server is more relaxing and you are achieving good results by not buying the AFK rewards, then I think it's perfectly fine to not buy it. I think you can take a few days to see whether or not you fall back in terms of your progression to the rankings and decide whether or not you want to continue buying. Another thing to consider is the upcoming future contents. So like I mentioned earlier, the few game modes that are still gonna benefit from the additional levels from the buying of AFK rewards will be your AFK stage. So if you're somebody who's really a lover for this content, then you definitely need to level your character because more levels, more stats, easier pushing time, right? In terms of the Legends Trial side, more levels, more stats, easier pushing time as well. Although all this will actually eventually be completed with time, even if you're free to play. So that's why I advise people with low resources or free to play to not buy the hourglasses, because you did rather have more efficiency in your unit quality than having the resonance level itself. But there's one more thing to consider, which is the open world content. So Chris Shelbrood is one of them, but if you take a look at the season handbook, we are very close to 1.23, and there could also be a 1.23 3.24 future content upcoming. And if you take a look at this guy over here, we have a brand new clan reputation, which I don't think the resonance level is going to matter too much. There's a new world map event as well as a new PvE event. So these two will be the next two content that the resonance level might have an effect on. So I can't actually predict whether or not there will be a normalization in level, but for most world map events, I think there won't be any normalization. So whatever your resonance level will be whatever the stats of your account or your characters being reflected against this content. So that is something that I want to talk about. Okay, so in my previous recording, I actually forgot about a really important feature, which is definitely worth a mention because this is a game-changing feature this season, which is the faction talents right here. So yes, as much as most of the levels, equipment's artifact, they pick at level 800, but for the factional talent right here, having more resonance level gives you an easier time in terms of content pushing, which will give you more talent essence, which is your upgrading materials. So all these upgrading materials translate to better level for your factional talent, giving you better abilities, giving you more stats at the very last nodes right here. So ideally, you want to get at least most of your factional talents or the important ones all the way until these two nodes right here. So that would be at least level 36, right? I mean 35, skipping this one. So let's say if I want my Mauler to get this and this, to skip this, I need level 36. Same thing for Light Bearer for even more content push or even PvP purpose or even bossing contents. And then for the Celestial Hypogean, same thing. I want to get at least this. And then eventually, right, once I have all the different stuff built up, I will be pumping the remaining essence into the stat boost itself. So this is something to consider in a sense because factional talent, despite not being something that affects Dream Realm, is actually quite important for some game modes such as Battle Drill, such as Supreme Arena, as well as Guild Supremacy. More stats, better abilities gives you better damage. So in a sense, resonance level will sort of play a pretty consistent role because you need resonance level to have an easier pushing time for you to have a higher level for factional talent itself. So that's a cycle there which I kind of forgot and I think is really important. So at the end of the day, right, like I mentioned earlier, whether or not you treat factional talent as a key point, whether or not you treat AFK stage push as a key point, depends on how competitive you want to be. So that is something with regards to levels, which will affect one key mechanics within this season itself. And let's continue back to the remaining part of the video. Let's go. And that's why it's really dependent on how competitive your server is, as well as your personal expectation as to the rewards and returns from the various game modes if there's a ranking system. So that is something that I want to talk about, right? There's no like open formula for everyone. I think you can buy once or twice per day, you can buy 3 times per day. If you think that the 300 gem on the very last hourglass is really expensive, then you can choose not to buy it, right? I think 300 is a lot, and then if you buy it 7 times per week, that's 2,100 gems, which is about 10 pools. So for most of the free-to-play low spender, I think you probably don't want to do or waste your gems on this kind of stuff because the 300 is really a lot. 50, 100 I think is still acceptable. Then 200 maybe a little bit of a pinch, but 300 is a little bit too much for most people. So that is, I'll say, like my guideline, right? Most people, subjective. Okay, free-to-play players, after 800, don't buy it. But if you're somebody who wants to secure good score for your contents, which your resonance level will still give you the advantage, then you should just buy the hourglasses, at least 1 or 2 per day to sort of keep pace with your district itself. Okay, so that's it for this video. Just a simple TLDR for the question requested, and hopefully this is helpful. And as usual, do remember to like and subscribe to see more AFK journey videos from the channel, and I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.